So Valentino Rossi in pole position. Lorenzo with plenty to show though. Lorenzo's had a good weekend also, second fastest alongside Rossi on that front row. Here comes Danny Pedrosa. As I say, not the best qualifying for Danny Pedrosa, but we know even from the third row of the grid he can make absolute rocket starts as he did at Laguna Seca. So we wait to see where Danny Pedrosa will come from the start. 250cc riders just leaving, plenty of smiles as you would imagine. Been a good race for them and they haven't got to make any tyre choice. She's going to be pretty pleased about that. So Ian, what do you think? It's got a difficult one to call, I would say.
It is at the moment, but I think, you know, with the race not due to start for 15 minutes, I think the worst of the black clouds will have passed overhead by then. I'm just down with the Hayate team and Marco Melandri. Let's see if I can just grab a quick word with Marco. Marco, difficult conditions yesterday, difficult qualifying.
Yeah, it was pretty tough because we didn't ride with this bike on very well like yesterday, so we had some trouble. But I feel good. I feel confident for the race in every condition. But we just started very, very, very bad, and I need a good start and see what's going on.
And come on, you must be able to tell us: is it going to stay dry for this race, or is it going to rain?
I hope it's going to be dry all the race because this morning the rhythm was quite good. We had a very rear tire, so very hard rear tire, so we need to take a good rhythm, so we need a long race.
Okay, thanks Marco and good luck.
That's Marco Melandri, he's qualified 13th fastest. He's got a really good record here. 1:25 win, 2:250, second in the MotoGP race, 2006. Crashed out last year. Marco Melandri having a remarkable season because it was a season he thought was never going to happen. Jorge Lorenzo's also having a remarkable season, 21 years old, second in the World Championship, 2 Grand Prix victories. He started every race this season from the front row of the grid. He crashed in the race here last year. Not a great record here. His best result, a third in the 250cc race 3 years ago. I've got a feeling he's going to put that to rights. And Casey Stoner, well, we just saw Casey a little bit earlier. Some real smiles from him on the grid. That's really good to see. I had a good chat with Casey yesterday. He says, still haven't really sorted out what's the matter with him. He's had bruised ribs. They're okay now. The wrist that he had the operation on was played up a little bit in Laguna. That's okay. What's going to be next for Casey Stoner? I'll tell you what's going to be next for him. It's going to be a Grand Prix victory.
Nick, I'm down here now with Randy De Punier. Randy, fast during qualifying yesterday, but it wasn't without his dramas.
Yeah, yesterday was a good qualifying for us, but I did two crash during the practice, but I'm in the second row. It was my target. Today it's a dry race, I hope, until the end, but I'm confident in both conditions.
Okay, thanks and good luck, Randy.
Randy De Punier done well again in qualifying. He's on that second row of the grid. He's qualified 6th fastest. One of the riders that go down at turn 8. It's almost actually to tell you he's in the riders that didn't go down in turn 8. There were some crashes there. Tony Elias, Alex De Angelis, Loris Capirossi, all going down on a very, very slippery track yesterday. But as we saw earlier, the big crash was Nicky Hayden, we just had a glimpse of colliding with Nicolo Canepa. Alex De Angelis has done really well. He's qualified 5th fastest on the second row of the grid, but he's got a great record here. Successive poles for 6 years in 125 and 250s, and 4th in the race last year.
You were just talking about Nicky Hayden there. I'm down there here on the grid with him. Nicky, your best qualifying position of the year. You were fast yesterday, but again, not without some dramas later on in the qualifying session.
Yeah, it was certainly a bit of drama we could have did without, but things have went well this weekend, and we've been on pace. I've made a couple mistakes just getting too excited, trying too hard, because now I can see the front. But anyway, the team's doing great. We're making progress. I feel good. I've got through the crashes healthy, and just see what happens here when this light goes out. I know it's going to be tough, but would love to try to get a hold of this group and, hang in there as long as I can.
Well, best of luck for today, Nicky.
Nicky Hayden, great to see him back on that second row of the grid. He really has had a weekend, though. A crash for him in the morning warm-up. Just to remind him, as he said, a couple of mistakes, but he is riding hard. That's why he's making mistakes, and the team and him making great progress. Colin Edwards, not the best weekend for Colin Edwards, you've got to say. He's qualified 7th fastest, crashed out of the race here last year, but 4th in 2007, 7th at Laguna Seca, but he actually moved up in the World Championship to 5th place. And Colin Edwards has had a really good season, and he's pretty useful around here, so look out for Colin Edwards on the 3rd row of the grid. He has qualified 7th fastest. Danny Pedrosa, we were talking about, winner here 2 years ago, crashed out while leading by 7 seconds last year on the Michelin tyres, on the Honda. Who knows if he'd won the race? Really wrecked his season. He was never really recovered from the injuries from the crash. Was a big crash at turn 1. 250cc wins here also. Very good record here, Danny Pedrosa. Middle of that third row. Look out for his starts. We know the sort of starts he makes from the second and third row. He'll be near the front when they get into turn 1. Speculation about Danny Pedrosa. Will he stay at Honda? Will he go to Yamaha? The word is that he will stay at Honda, the Repsol Honda team with Andrea Dovizioso, and we may see the return of Telefonica movie star with a special Honda team with Jorge Lorenzo, but nothing has been confirmed. It's rumour time, MotoGP. It's coming up to the summer, it always is. Loris Capirossi, second here in 2007, 10th in the World Championship at the moment. Of course, crashed out of the race at Laguna, Loris Capirossi, currently running qualified 9th fastest on that third row of the grid. Massive crowd here. They've enjoyed all sorts of weather over the weekend. Scorching hot here on Friday. I think it was the track temperature was 38 degrees. Cold and wet yesterday. Typical mixed today. Sort of Assen Donington weather this is, with this race in between. Let's hope it stays dry. It's like the back of Mika Kallio, who's qualified 10th fastest as it is. He lost most of his ring finger in a horrendous crash in Assen. Really scraped away the top of the finger on his left hand. Missed the race in Laguna, but back in action. And has looked pretty impressive, to be honest with you. Won the 125cc race here previously. He's currently 15th in the World Championship, but he's missed some races. Started the season well in his MotoGP debut season with 2 8th places. And some fans here for Mika Kallio. Need have been pleased yesterday. Jarno Saarinen, the late great Jarno Saarinen, inducted into the MotoGP Hall of Fame. His former wife and his 2 brothers here to receive the medal. A very special time for the family and, of course, for Finland. Andrea Dovizioso we've already seen, as I say, crashed out of the last 2 races. That's pushed him down to 6th in the World Championship. But he was 5th here last year. First time he'd ridden a MotoGP machine here. But never had great results here, either in the 125s or the 250s, which is unusual for the number of Grand Prix, and of course the 125cc World Championship that he actually won. Chris Vermeulen, big crash on Friday. Still some water on the circuit. I think he was a little bit unlucky. Fell on the injured hip that he'd injured at Laguna. Don't think it did that so much damage, but a slight dislocation of his collarbone. Had a great result here last year, remember, Chris. 3rd in the race after qualifying 14th. But obviously riding a fair bit of pain and discomfort. But don't rule him out after last year. He starts from 12th place on the grid on that 4th row. It's a bit of quiet before the storm now, a little bit of silence, 7 minutes to go. Everybody, there's Marco Melandri, just had a good chat with Ian. Rumours suggest that he could be on his way to the Gresini team to join Marco Simoncelli next season. That would be a pretty useful combination. All Italian, would suit the sponsors, and it would probably suit the team as well. But we've had a good chat with Marco Melandri. He thinks it's going to remain dry. I think, like everybody else, he hopes it's going to remain dry. Although Casey Stoner did tell us yesterday, with everything that's going on with him, he wouldn't mind if it rained. But we wait to see. James Toseland, big race for him after, of course, that black flag incident at Laguna Seca. Made his Sachsenring debut last year when he finished in 11th place, fighting for his MotoGP future. Big race for him next weekend, the British Grand Prix at Donington Park. He's probably the luckiest man on the grid today, Nicola Canepa.
Yeah, after Nicky Hayden flew through the air off his bike into his back, he said he didn't actually realise what had happened, and he was down, and that was the end of his session. Mr. Canepa qualified in 15th. He'll be pleased with that one. In 16th, just behind him, the Hungarian Gabor Talmashi.
Yeah, of course, Gabor, 125s last year, 250s briefly this year, and now in MotoGP. He's getting ready for the Czech Republic Grand Prix, the one after Donington Park, when they say 30,000 Hungarians will be making the trip across the border to celebrate with him. Tony Elias, another man that went down big time at turn 8 yesterday. He was okay, but it was an horrendous looking accident with the bike just running straight on into the air fence, wasn't it?
Yeah, same for his teammate as well, Alex De Angelis. 5 minutes before the race gets underway, and there were a lot of crashes yesterday. A lot of people nursing, a few bumps, a few bruises. Chris Vermeulen still suffering with that shoulder injury. I'm sure Tony Ellis will be feeling that crash this morning. Hayden and Canepa will probably be a bit sore today as well.
Of course, Nicky Hayden, as we said, crashed in the warm-up this morning as well. But he's just been talking to it, and he just said, yeah, I made a couple of mistakes, but I'm trying so hard because now I can see the front men for the first time. Dead right. Be interesting to see what sort of start he makes. The man to watch out for is going to be Danny Petrosa from the third row of the grid, though, isn't he?
Definitely. A lightning start he had in Laguna Seca paid to that race for anyone else, didn't it? No chance for him being held up. And Jeremy Burgess and Valentino Rossi just clinched before the race gets underway. Shake of the hands from his team. Ian, what's the weather like? Final little look at the clouds and the wind that's picking up around the circuit before we get underway.
Yeah, the wind's definitely picking up. I've come out of the back of pit lane now to look over the back of the circuit, because this is where the weather's coming from. And with the current wind direction, it looks like we're going to get clear skies in the next half an hour or so. Having said that, there are some black clouds over the tree line as well. So on this occasion, I'm going to dip out of predicting what's going to happen during the race.
Interesting tyre choices between the front two. You saw Rossi on hard front and a hard rear, and Lorenzo with a hard front and an extra hard rear. That's the two options here this weekend. Same choice between Lorenzo and Pedrosa. They've gone for the extra hard rear tyre. So a difference. The hard tyre has got the white stripe around it. The extra hard doesn't have it. You can see extra hard front for Stoner and a hard rear. That Ducati likes to use the front tyre a lot. In fact, Casey Stoner, more than anything, likes to use that front tyre. So the front row of your grid, Stoner, Lorenzo, and in pole position, championship leader, Valentino Rossi.
So welcome back to the Sachsenring. I'm Nick Harris, sitting alongside me Gavin Emmett, down in pit lane Ian Wheeler. It's round 9 of the MotoGP World Championship.
30 laps of this circuit. Valentino Rossi in pole. Alongside him, Jorge Lorenzo, his teammate, and Casey Stoner on the Ducati.
Welcome back Nicky Hayden to the second row, Alex De Angelis and Randy De Punier.
And it's Colin Edwards, Danny Pedrosa, the winner of the last round in Laguna Seca, and Loris Capirossi in 9th.
Row 4, welcome back Mika Kallio after missing Laguna, Andrea Dovizioso and Chris Vermeulen had such a great race here last year.
Marco Melandri, James Toseland and Nicolo Canepa make up row 5.
And row 6, Gabo Tomashi and Tony Elias.
No Sete Gibernal, him and his team have withdrawn from the championship, just like Yuki Takahashi did so at the Laguna Seca round just 2 weeks ago now. But it's all minds on this race here, and the 17 MotoGP riders out there. Conditions are difficult, it's blustery, there's a few clouds here and there as well. It's going to be a challenging 30-lap race for the MotoGP boys. Danny Pedrosa on the third row of the grid will be looking for one of his lightning starts. He almost has a practice start, doesn't he? As they go off on their warm-up lap.
I see somebody race past him. I think it was Randy De Punier.
Well, he's another good starter, but they'll be trying to get as much heat into the tyres on this lap as possible. Look at De Punier, he's really pushing out because they've got the extra hard or hard tyres. They were the two options given to them by Bridgestone here. Look at the amount of spectators in the Sachsenring as well. Oh, just short of 100,000 fans here today. So probably a little bit put off by the weather, but that's a massive crowd nonetheless.
It's a fantastic crowd in the climate conditions and also the conditions of finances at the moment. And as we keep saying, this is an area that is Grand Prix motorcycle racing. Everybody thrives on it, everybody knows about it, everybody has stories about it from their grandfathers upwards, and that's what it's all about. Marco Melandri, 3 times winner here, 125 and 250s, second also in the MotoGP race. It's had an up and down weekend, but actually you can say that about most of the riders, because a lot of them have gone down at certain stages.
A lot of them are really racing on this first lap too. Yeah. Really going hard around the warm-up lap because they're really trying to get some heat into the tyres. Further down the order, there's Jorge Lorenzo just making his way around. Andrea Dovizioso won't be happy with his weekend so far. A couple of crashes in the last 2 races. Not so good for Dovizioso too.
Well, we've spoken about Jorge Lorenzo. Will he leave Yamaha? Is there a dispute at Yamaha? Who's going to be the number 1 and everything else? Now, that particular battle comes out on the track where it should be. And I tell you what, qualifying yesterday, the last 10 minutes in the pouring rain between Lorenzo and Rossi was superb. You just get the feeling the race could be the same. Who's going to be number one at top of the world? Who's going to be number one at Yamaha? Rossi and Lorenzo have a little bit of unfinished business here at the Sachsenring.
Yeah, a few riders have raced off. A few more have taken a bit longer, so the tyres will cool down for those who did get off at a pace. They all line up very sharply. It's as quick as I've seen them go around a warm-up lap in recent times. Rossi just checks his position. Front row of the grid, Rossi, Lorenzo, Stoner.
Here we go, round 9 of the MotoGP World Championships are at the Sachsenring in Germany.
Away they go, a bit of a jump on the second row from Alex De Angelis. All on the front row, they get away well. Watch out for Pedrosa from 8th position. Pedrosa gets away so well indeed, and Pedrosa's going to be into second position if he doesn't run it too deep. Hayden's left out to dry in that first corner. Stoner drops a couple of positions too on the inside. Randy De Pugnae makes a great start into third.
Whoa, Nicky Hayden got absolutely pushed out wide, didn't he?
He's hung out to dry around there.
And Rossi's going. Rossi's going to try and go from this moment, I reckon. Great start by him. Danny Pedrosa in second place, but poor old Nicky Hayden, he got hung out to dry at turn 1.
So it's Rossi leading from Pedrosa, then it's Randy De Pugnae in third, Casey Stoner in fourth, so he made a recovery from that start. Where's Jorge Lorenzo in 6th position behind Alex De Angelis? And then it's Andrea Dovizioso, Loris Capirossi in there, Colin Edwards, Mika Kallio, Nicky Hayden up into 11th now, so making progress, the Kentucky kid.
Up through turn 9, up towards 10, 11 and 12 at the top of the hill. It's the first time they go plunge down the hill.
Oh! A huge crash for Randy De Pugnae. That's why they need heat in the tyres. The first time they go on the right-hand side of the tyres, that is. And that's his first crash of the season in a race.
He's a lucky, lucky man, Randy De Pugnae. Not the place to crash. He's okay. At the front, Rossi unaware of what's happening behind him. Danny Pedrosa not letting Rossi go away as they come into turn 14, the end of the first lap.
Lorenzo got through.
Race.
Lorenzo got through on De Angelis, as did Dovizioso. So it's Rossi, Pedrosa, Stoner, Lorenzo, Dovizioso, De Angelis, Colin Edwards in 7th, Capirossi 8th, Hayden up into 9th, but Hayden's going to take a couple of positions on that into first corner. And he's run it wide again as Hayden.
Poor old Nicky Hayden. Difficult start for the American. Through the overhead curve they come, up to the hill they will go, then round this series of left-handers.
There is Hayden just in behind Edwards, and there is, it looks like Mika Kallio as well, so Hayden's got all the work to do yet again. Yeah, that was the last right-hander where we saw Randy De Pugnae crash. It's up and over a slight rise, then they plunge down the hill where all the crashes were yesterday. Look at this, Capirossi and Kallio, and then Hayden.
Yep, through turn 8, coming up towards turn 9, the bottom end of the circuit now. Loris Capirossi coming under big pressure. Hayden trying to run right the outside of Mika Kallio as they come up the hill to this series of left-handers. Kallio's got the inside. Capirossi has to sit up. Hayden's going to get pushed wide again if he's not careful. Hayden holds his line and has got past Loris Capirossi.
Fantastic that from Nicky Hayden, because Capirossi ran it wide and running right into the rumble strip, but he kept the power down and just went round the outside of Capirossi. Great stuff from Hayden.
Down to the bottom of the hill, turn 13 now coming up towards turn 14 into the start and finish straight.
Stoner closed right up on Pedrosa on the brakes there at the bottom of the hill. It's a front 5 breaking away now from Rossi back to Dovizioso. Fastest man on the circuit is Andrea Dovizioso, but not much to choose between these front 5. 1 second covers the lot of them.
Could be a really close race, this one. Into turn 1 they come. Andrea Dovizioso, as we say, the fastest lap of the race. Dovizioso currently running in 5th place.
I just wonder if things will settle down for a moment, or will we see Lorenzo and Dovizioso attack Stoner early on in this one. De Pugnae's back in the garage already and just checks himself over. This is it on the first lap. First time on the right side of the tyres. That's just cold tyre, letting go. And I'll tell you what, Stoner's lucky there as well. And that bike, that's the fastest corner on the whole circuit. It's 5th gear, and they are really very fast indeed through there.
Remember Casey Stoner crashing there on the warm-up. We can arrive with Randy De Pugnae. Oh, that is not the place to go down. Well, you see Casey Stoner just avoiding him as he went down.
First crash of the season, though, for De Pugnae.
He's going to be bitterly disappointed, but I've got to say, he's also going to think, hey up, I've been a lucky boy. This is hotting up at the front.
Here comes Dovizioso up on the inside of Lorenzo. Takes you back to 250s, that, doesn't it? As Dovizioso goes through on Lorenzo. Lorenzo tries to hold on to the outside line, but Dovizioso's got the position up into 4th.
didn't these two have a tremendous couple of years in the 250cc championship? Lorenzo came out on top. You've got to say he probably had the superior bike. Dovizioso and him had so many battles.
Fastest man on the circuit, though, is Casey Stoner, who just a tenth quicker than all those riders around him. Lorenzo just a couple of tenths slower than all of them, in fact.
There is Casey Stoner in third place. Dovizioso coming under pressure from Lorenzo, but he holds firm. There we go, new circuit record 122.634.
I think we're expecting that to go, weren't we? Because, well, if it was dry, because last year there was obviously a wet race, the year before the first year of the 800s, and they have been quicker in practice than that circuit record regularly.
Now, can Casey Stoner last the pace? If he can last the pace, I tell you, he's in with a real chance of winning this race. It's going to be a fabulous event.
Pedrosa looks stronger over the first half of the track, I have to say. But then Stoner will close up as they go through these faster sections, climbing up the hill one more time. There's Lorenzo. He's got through on Dovizioso one more time, but they're just losing touch with Stoner. Maybe they should just work together a little bit.
Dead right. The more they keep swapping positions, the bigger advantage will be for those three at the front. Down the hill they plunge, turn 13.
Marco Melandri's on a charge up into 8th, past Callio and Hayden. They're all involved in a real scrap, though, as is James Toseland in 11th. Good to see him being able to scrap it out.
Yeah, Nicky Hayden currently in 10th place.
I'm Danny with Randy De Punier. He's back in the LCR pit box now. Randy, fantastic start, but it just looked like you got caught out by a cold tyre there.
Yeah, it took a very good start. I was third. I was behind Danny, and when we go on a fast right corner on a uphill, for me it was difficult to see the line because Danny was in front of me, and maybe I changed the line too fast and I put the throttle maybe too much, and I did a big outside. I'm lucky because I don't have an injury now, but I'm very disappointed for the team and for everybody because I think this weekend I have the potential to do a good race.
Thanks, Randy.
I think sums it up perfectly. He's bitterly disappointed, but he knows he's lucky because anything could have happened at that corner. It's closing up at the front.
You see their tyres sliding around this lap, especially coming down that left-hander, down the hill, turns 7 and 8. Incredible scenes there, the way their tyres are sliding all the way. Now Rossi's trying to pull away from Pedrosa. Stoner, can he make a move down at the bottom of the hill this time?
Here he comes, Casey Stoner on the brakes up the inside of Danny Pedrosa. He's got through. Stoner up into second place.
That's where he's strongest. Pedrosa's quicker in the first half. Stoner is very strong in this half of the circuit. Can he last the pace, Casey Stoner? We hope. The doctors he said the doctors didn't really find too much wrong with him. So he's going back to his old regime here this weekend. He's the fastest man on the circuit at the moment. A new lap record.
Look out for Danny Pedrosa, though, trying to go back up the inside of Casey Stoner, not able to do so. Has he got through? No, he hasn't. They want to be careful, these two. They don't want to get involved in too much of this, as Rossi will get away at the front. Work together to pull back the championship leader.
Yeah, Lorenzo shrugged off Dovizioso at the moment, though, so Lorenzo did the right thing in getting back in front of Dovizioso. He's in 4th position, and this is what we expected the whole championship to be like, didn't we?
We did.
These 4 at the front. Well, it's been the 3 really, Rossi, Stoner and Lorenzo. Pedrosa upset the apple cart a little bit with his performance at Laguna Seca, but it's as we wanted. Look at the tyre slide as they come down the hill there. Rossi leads from Stoner. Stoner now comes into his element in this second half of the track.
Stoner is riding a beautiful race at the moment in second place, closing up on Valentino Rossi. A little bit of a wobble at the top of the hill. Now they're going to flick it right any moment now. Here we go. They plunge down. We ride with Valentino Rossi. Casey Stoner we ride with now. Rossi in front. Will Stoner have a go up the inside? He's not quite close enough, but he's sizing up Rossi all the time.
And he's very quick in that section. It's funny because they've got completely opposite setups of the tyres. I think it looks to me like Valentino Rossi's got an extra hard rear tyre and a hard front, and it's the other way round for Casey Stoner.
Little short straight, they come over the start and finish line now into turn 1. Stoner will again have a little look up the inside, decides not to. Lorenzo desperate to get in, joining in the fun.
Yeah, I think he's pulled away from Pedrosa a little bit, hasn't he? Dovizioso's having a problem, I think, because past him goes Alex De Angelis, and the last couple of laps from Dovizioso a second slower.
Alex De Angelis loves this circuit.
He really does.
6 successive pole positions, 125s and 250s. 4th in the race here last year. He's qualified on the second row of the grid. He's fighting for his future, but he loves the Sachsenring. Casey Stoner won here last year. He wants to win again. He's right on the rear wheel now. Valentino Rossi, 23 and a half laps to go. It just gets better and better this season.
Look at the rear tyre slide as they come down out the bottom of that corner. And Stoner carries a lot of pace coming out that corner, doesn't he? Looks like his throttle's stuck open with that graphic. I can assure you that he's not just riding with his right hand twisted fully back. We can see how much pace he makes up on Valentino Rossi, and it's the most important part of the circuit to do it on. Here he comes, he's lining up a move at the bottom of the hill.
Surely he's going to have a go this time. Casey Stoner, will he get up the inside at turn 13? Oh, the brakes, he comes. Both legs go out. Stoner takes the lead. And Casey Stoner leads the German Grand Prix.
He left it late enough so Rossi had no way to come through on him, and Stoner takes the lead in the Grand Prix. 23 laps to go when they cross the start-finish line, and we just hope his physical problems don't affect him again, because surely we've got a race on our hands here now.
We ride with Valentino Rossi. Casey Stoner crosses the line. He won the race here last year. Rossi not close enough to get up the inside. He thinks about it. Danny Pedrosa has also closed up on Rossi, as has Jorge Lorenzo.
This is turning out to be a brilliant race, isn't it? With Stoner leading, Rossi second, Pedrosa third, Lorenzo fourth. The top four in your championship, the factory riders from Honda, Yamaha and Ducati, all at the front of this race, and it's going to be a scrap to the finish, this one. Whose tyres are going to go first? Who's going to be able to last the pace? Whose injuries are going to take their toll? It will all come to fruition in the next 22 and a half laps.
It certainly will. Down through turn 8 they come. Danny Pedrosa now putting some real pressure on Valentino Rossi.
And watch Stoner here. This is where he's strong, and he's pulling away just slightly, isn't he, from Valentino Rossi in this last section of the circuit. Up and over the hill. A couple of fast left-handers through here. Another left, and then they will flick it right over the top. Oh, I just wanted to see that on board, how they go through that right-hander, because it's fifth gear. Then they flick it up into sixth. One of the fastest points on the circuit, down into turn 13.
Turn 13, that's where they are. Valentino Rossi loves overtaking at turn 13, but he's not close enough to Casey Stoner. Does pull back a little bit on the brakes. Up this little short straight into turn 14. This difficult left-hander uphill into the start
Pedrosa
and finish.
Had a bit of a problem just going through that corner. Just got the line a little bit wrong, and maybe Lorenzo will try and attack him. I think Pedrosa got a good drive, though, out of the corner eventually. Wasn't great going into it in mid-corner, but did get some good drive out of it. On board now with Jorge Lorenzo, looking at the rear of Danny Pedrosa.
Rossi's sizing up Stoner at turn 1. He's coming from a long way back, but he's sizing him up, I can tell you.
Stoner was just a tenth quicker than Rossi and Pedrosa on that lap. Lorenzo was 2 tenths quicker than Stoner. So that's why it's all bunched up, concertinaed up. And we've got the 4 best riders in the world at the head of this race.
Jorge Lorenzo's had to work hard to get there, but he is there. He wants to get past Danny Pedrosa now. As we saw, not the most patient of young men, as we saw at Laguna Seca when he tried to overtake Valentino Rossi probably a little bit too quickly, but he's sizing up Pedrosa now. Up the hill they come, through turn 9, up towards his left-handers, then the plunge downhill. I reckon he's close enough to have a go at the bottom of the hill.
I agree. I think it's about time Lorenzo will start making a move. And this is also the time that Casey Stoner has been feeling those stomach cramps, been feeling the issues with his stomach. They said maybe gastritis, mild anemia, but nothing that would cause that kind of pain. Here comes Lorenzo, you're right. Through he goes on Danny Pedrosa. Can Pedrosa fight back?
Not this time round. Lorenzo moves up into 3rd place. He wants to get up with the men at the front.
Yeah, Lorenzo does, because the gap between them is 7 tenths of a second. Look at the gap between Rossi and Lorenzo now. Head down from both the Spaniards, but it's Lorenzo into 3rd as they cross the line. 21 laps to go.
Long way to go. 30-lap race. Stoner leads. Rossi 2nd. Lorenzo 3rd. Pedrosa in 4th place. Behind them, De Angelis, Dovizioso, Melandri, Kallio, Nicky Hayden in 9th place. Elias 10th, Edwards 11th, Tosland 12th, Caparossi 13th, Canepa 14th, Tamashi 15th, Vermeulen 16th, Randy De Prunier out of the race after a big crash.
Tony Elias coming through the order then, up into 10th position, past Colin Edwards, who's dropping down. 2 Monster Yamaha Tech 3 bikes haven't had such a good weekend, have they?
No,
really?
they haven't.
Struggled a bit with this circuit, whereas Rossi and Lorenzo are up there fighting, but usually expect Edwards to be up there. Elias, in fact, is up to 8th position, past both Kallio and Hayden now.
Had a good ride in Laguna, Tony Elias. 6th place, and fighting again for his Grand Prix future. Stoner hasn't got away, has he? Rossi's hanging on to him. Rossi likes it when the tyres start to go off and the bike gets a bit loose.
Here we go. Valentino Rossi's going to have a go. Round the outside he goes. No, he's not going to be able to do it that time. Stoner very strong on the brakes down there.
Dead right, and he knows that Rossi likes to overtake there, and he really made sure he wasn't going to get to the inside of him. Look out also for Lorenzo. He's just pulling back that advantage very slowly.
Yeah, just closing in, isn't he? Now, across the start-finish line. 20 laps to go. Stoner from Rossi. Can Rossi make a move at the end? Danny Pedrosa just dropping off this front trio at the moment. Look how hard he slams on the brakes there. Casey Stoner at the front. His rear wheel skips along the asphalt as well. And if his stomach wasn't hurting from the stomach cramps before, the pressure and the nerves at the front, they'll be taking their toll definitely, because he really is pulling so hard on the brakes there.
Yeah, when he plunges down the hill, it makes my stomach come up to what it must be like for him. Let's really hope that Casey Stoner is going to be fit and well to defend this lead, because this is a fabulous ride by him. So look at those tyre choices.
Yeah, the tyre choices. You see, the only difference there actually is Stoner's got an extra hard front tyre. That's the B option here this weekend. The A option on the rear for both of them, and A option on the front for Valentino Rossi. That's the one with the white stripe around it, although the white stripe diminished somewhat as we go during the race, with all the rubber flicks off and that kind of thing. Jorge Lorenzo, he's gone with a hard front and an extra hard rear, so the opposite to Casey Stoner.
Down the hill they plunged 19 and a half laps ago. Danny Pedrosa, he's done a lot of hard work, but now down in fourth place, just fighting to hang in there, really, isn't he?
I just wonder what that means come the end of the race. If that's the softer option, so to speak. I wonder if later on in the race, because there's so many left-handers at this circuit, and we're talking really about the left-hand side of the tyre when we say hard and extra hard, because the right-hand side of the tyre, there's only 3 corners really. They say 4, but I think there's only 3 real corners, making the Omega one long right that they use it. So it's quite a softer right-hand side of the tyre. As in here, that's turn 1. That's where they use the right-hand side. De Angelis in 5th position, Dovizioso in 6th. Then they flick it left, have one more right of the Omega, then it's left, 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 all the way to the fast right where Depunier crashed on the first lap.
Certainly did. Dovizioso 6, Melandri in 7th place. Very good ride by him once again. So say 3 times winner here out of the Sachsenring, fighting to get a job next season at the Rossini Honda team.
I think he's done a pretty fair job, hasn't he? Now, Hayden is through on Kallio, as is Edwards. So Hayden's into 9th. There was Elias, who's in 8th and closing down on Marco Melandri.
He doesn't want him to pinch his job,
exactly,
does he?
Yeah.
And Alex De Angelis in front of both of them. He doesn't want them either to pinch his job. Let's go back to the front. It's settling down. It has, which will happen, won't it? Lorenzo, I'd say, is very involved in the battle now. I think it's a case now in the next few laps that Danny Pedrosa is going to get dropped a little bit further back.
He is being dropped, but that Honda doesn't seem to use the tyres as much as or especially the front tyre, as much as the Ducati, for example.
Yeah, and of course a new engine for Honda this weekend, where not so much fierce power at the bottom end, so that may help. What an on-board view that was of Casey Stoner, that left leg going out. They asked Valentino Rossi again, didn't they? Why do you put that left leg out? He said, I don't really know.
They're both at their pace on that last lap. It was the fastest lap for Lorenzo, fastest lap of the race for Rossi, and Stoner one of his fastest laps so far in this race. All in the low 122s, and that is quicker than they went in free practice, if I'm not mistaken. Just about. Of course, they only had 1.5 practices in the dry.
We ride with Jorge Lorenzo. What a Grand Prix season this is turning out to be. This is just superb stuff. They seem to be at the front every race now, don't they? It seems to be just like that. James Toseland just moved up into 10th place for James
11th, past
11th,
Kallio.
Past Kallio. They're in a really good race. Toseland obviously wants to gain a lot of confidence for the British Grand Prix at Donington.
Look at Lorenzo starting to put some pressure on Valentino Rossi. Rossi will be able to hear him.
Certainly will.
And look how Stoner pulls away in this part of the track. That's why it's been so hard for Rossi to get close. Down his favourite, at his favourite overtaking point here at turn 13.
Down in turn 13, just over 18 laps remaining.
Pedrosa is second behind them now. Sorry, Nick.
No problem at all. This is great stuff. Turn 14 into the start and finish straight. It's not a very long run to the line here. Rossi got caught here once before by Sete Gibernau. Don't think he'll make that same mistake again. We ride with the world champion, the championship leader. Closes right up on Stoner, this part of the circuit.
Takes a very defensive line there as well, Rossi. Could be seen as aggressive and go through on Stoner, but I think he knew he had no chance of getting through on Stoner. I think he was just closing the door so Lorenzo didn't attack.
He's got him at both ends now, and he's got Stoner at the front, and he's got Jorge Lorenzo right behind him. Brilliant stuff.
This is incredible. On board now with Valentino Rossi, and it's the top 3 in the World Championship. Casey Stoner currently 3rd in that championship, but just 16 points behind Rossi. He's had those stomach problems over the last few races, since Catalonia really, that boiling hot race in Barcelona. We thought it was heat exhaustion. Then we went to Assen and it occurred again. That time we thought, maybe the stress, nerves, that kind of thing. Happened again in the United States. We thought, I wonder if it was problems with other parts of his body after the crashes. On board with the Punier. This was his run to the first corner. Look at Alex De Angelis on the inside there. Look how he goes into that first corner. And look at that Stoner's knee there. Stoner's knee was right in the middle of De Angelis' bike.
Certainly was. Here's Jorge Lorenzo in third place. A little bit of sunshine now. That's
always
warming up the proceedings.
Always incredulous to watch them in that first corner of a race. Just how they all dive in and bunch up together.
To respective camps. A lot of tension there. Not even at half distance yet.
Well, it's all tight at the front, isn't it? You could. There's not much to choose between them, is there at all?
No, certainly through these sectors, you'd say Lorenzo and Rossi probably faster. The Yamaha's very nimble, isn't it?
Just at the end of the straight, the front straight, they all bunch up tightly on Stoner. But when they start to stretch the legs of the bike, seems to pull away slightly. Down this section here, I think Stoner looks very, very quick. Look at the line he takes. Much tighter through there, and then he pulls out, doesn't he? Just going down the hill, which makes it hard for Rossi to find a place to overtake. It isn't the easiest track to overtake on, is it?
Certainly not. It's Danny Pedrosa. He's hanging in there for dear life, isn't he?
I just wonder, as I said, that Honda doesn't use the tyres as ferociously as both the Ducati and the Yamaha. The Ducati normally is the hardest on the tyres, so I wonder if he might be able to conserve something for the end of the race, especially as now the sun has come out and he's got that extra hard rear tyre in.
It's really closing up at the front now. Rossi really on the rear wheel of Casey Stoner's Ducati as they come through turn 13. Bright sunshine, first time today, up to 14. Lorenzo's also there.
Look at the clouds in the background. It's just such a mixed day here, isn't it? But thank goodness we have the sun out and we have dry race. Don't think there's any chance of any rain coming before the 15 laps that are remaining. Go. Now, this is halfway point in the race. Stoner so far has kept quite a steady pace, runs it a little bit deeper that time, pushing hard on the brakes, wasn't he? Obviously can feel Rossi and Lorenzo closing in there because he was really pushing hard.
He did well to pull that back, I think. I thought Rossi was going to go through.
Keep an eye out for Marco Melandri as well. It looks like he's slowly closing down on Andrea Dovizioso.
Yeah, the gap down to 4 seconds between both the Italians. It was at about 5 seconds, so now it's under 4 in fact. And Elias is coming with Melandri, as is Hayden.
Let's have a look again. This is turn 1 with Lorenzo. Rossi on the inside. Stoner, I don't know if he deliberately rode it like that. He certainly went a little bit wide and pulled back across.
You can do that.
Yeah, you can.
It's a very, very long right-hander. And you can run it that little bit deeper and pull it back across as long as you find your line for turn 2.
Down the hill they plunge, down towards turn 13.
Pedrosa's closing in again.
Yes.
The pace at the front, 1:22.6, so nearly 1:22.7 from both Stoner and Rossi on that last lap. Pedrosa 1:22.6, so a tenth quicker. And it's not, I wouldn't say Stoner was holding them up, but it's not going to be easy for anyone to get past him.
that is going to be the major problem. They're on the start and finish track. There's 14 laps to go towards turn 1. Will Rossi have a go this time round? Lorenzo coming up the inside of Rossi. Rossi puts his leg out. He'd have had the ride over his leg
exactly.
if he was going to go through.
I'm not sure that time it was out braking rather than just blocking. Look how much Pedrosa closes up as well. We've got a 4-man battle yet again. Pedrosa's just set his fastest lap of the race. He's coming into this one.
Certainly is. That was amazing stuff.
This is a hand rubber now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's brilliant. Stoner, let's hope that physical condition's okay because he is riding a superb race at the front. He won the race here last year. He was a world champion. He is absolutely world class on the Ducati. He's worth anybody's money to see him ride that bike.
Just watch him in the corners though, how that Ducati moves about all the time. He's fighting it. No wonder he gets tired during a race. Compared to the Yamaha, it really is. He seems like he's fighting the bike around the corners. Now Rossi's very, very close this time. This is the first time we've seen him this close. I think Rossi's thinking, right, if I don't get past soon, Lorenzo's going to be on me. So here comes Rossi and Lorenzo also. They're going to go and try and go through on Stoner, and Rossi gets through. Lorenzo can't find a way through now, so it's Rossi now leading the way. Stoner will fight back straight away. Let's hope he isn't starting to have those physical problems once more. Can he stick on the back of Valentino Rossi? Can he attack down at turn 1?
Through the start and finish they come. 13 laps to go when they cross the line up towards turn 1. Rossi leads the way once again. Lorenzo now sizing up Stoner. He's worried that Rossi will get away and he moves into second place. He's gone past Casey Stoner. Let's hope that Casey Stoner isn't having the recurrence of those problems. And Danny Pedrosa now on the rear wheel, also of Stoner.
Rossi's trying to pull away. He's pushing very, very hard from the off. Half a second between himself and Lorenzo. Lynn Jarvis, Yamaha racing director, watches on. Seen some harsh words in the press recently about Jorge Lorenzo, about the contract for next year, but that's all forgotten at the moment. He's got a Yamaha 1-2. Can Stoner, can Pedrosa do anything about the dominance of the Yamahas?
Casey Stoner's fights back down through turn 8. We ride with Jorge Lorenzo, turn 9 coming up. Going to start climbing hill. Look at that Ducati. He is riding the wheels off it at the bottom of the hill. Here they come. They start the climb up. This is where the Ducati and Stoner are so quick.
Yeah, and I think what he'll do is either he'll go past Lorenzo quickly at the bottom of the hill now because he's close enough, and I think he's going to have a go here, Stoner. He's going to carry the pace down here, is he now? No, not this time. Not sure he's going to be close enough. No, and I think what he might do is just go with Lorenzo. Not put too much pressure on Lorenzo. Let Lorenzo bring them back to Rossi. Pedrosa's not out of it. Don't count him out.
No, he's done very well, Pedrosa. I thought he was going to be dropped, but he hasn't been dropped. He's at the back of the hill. The Stoner family look on. It's nervous times. Nervous times for us up here, what it's like for them. Rossi leads as they cross the line. 12 laps to go. That familiar style, that right leg goes out. Lorenzo second, Stoner third. Pedrosa in fourth place. Bright sunshine here at the Sachsenring. Here is Alex De Angelis.
Only seconds back on the leaders. Not too bad at all. Back behind him, Dovizioso. There's Melandri with him. Dovizioso 6th. Melandri 7th. Elias not too far behind in 8th. And Hayden in 9th. Just a second behind Elias. Look at the tyres. Look at the left-hand side of that tyre. That's Andrea Dovizioso's. Already it's ragged. There's going to be some problems towards the end of this race, I think, with tyres.
Yeah, will it be at the front or will it be a little bit further down the field as we're watching now? That's going to be very, very interesting indeed. Oh, that tyre has taken a real battering, isn't it, from Andrea Dovizioso. Melandri closing up on him all the time. Here is Melandri down at turn 8. 11 and a half laps to go. This is the battle for 6th place. Andrea Dovizioso, I don't think there's really anything he can do about it. Melandri's going to go past him. Looks like major tyre problems for Andrea Dovizioso. At the top of the hill, through the lefts. They're going to flick it right any moment now.
Again, Melandri into 6th. Who'd have expected that from the Kawasaki? Even if it was the factory.
What a place to overtake him. Plunging down the hill. But he's got confidence in the tyres. As they break for turn 3, Marco Melandri now moves up into 6th place.
Just seems like it suits him so much more than the Ducati. Well, obviously it suits him more than the Ducati, but just looks more comfortable on it. Now, Stoner's half a second behind Lorenzo now. His tyre started to go. He had the hard rear on, remember. Extra hard rear for Lorenzo and a hard front and rear for Valentino Rossi.
There's been a war of words in the press, not directly attributed to Rossi and Lorenzo, about their futures, about who's number one at Yamaha, everything else. This next 10 and a half laps is going to sort a lot of that out, isn't it?
This is going to be, it's going to go down to the wire. I'm not sure whether Stoner or Pedrosa can do it. They're both dropping back. On that last lap, Pedrosa was almost a second slower than Lorenzo, and he was 4/10 slower than Stoner, but Stoner again was almost half a second slower than Lorenzo as well. So Lorenzo is the fastest one out there at the moment.
We ride with Jorge Lorenzo, 270, 280 kilometres an hour. Brake for the left-hander at the bottom of the hill, turn 13. Closes right up on Valentino Rossi, his teammate. And then that little short acceleration before turn 14. Back into the start and finish straight. 10 laps to go when they cross the line.
It looks as though Lorenzo's much more gradual on the brakes and more gradual on the throttle, but I've got a feeling that's more to do with how the data's coming through from the two bikes. But
you don't need to commentate these races, do you? This is it. Probably the two best riders in the world at the moment, fighting it out in front of nearly 100,000 people at the German Grand Prix, and the sun's shining. I think I'll put my feet up and just enjoy it. Fabulous.
Look at the banks of fans in the distance as well. Listen to the two Yamahas as they fight and scrap it out. Lorenzo's getting close to the bottom of the hill, turn 7 and 8 into turn 9. They start to climb back up once more. Lorenzo's close. A couple more corners and then they're through the fast right-hander. Here's the fast left, then they flick it over. 4th gear, 5th. There's 5th and they'll go to 6th just here. Down the hill, here comes Lorenzo. Not this time.
Sizing him up. He's getting him ready.
Gap back to Stoner, 7/10 of a second. Stoner closed in on that sector, but that's where we know he's quick. It's in here once more with the Yamahas pull away yet again. On board with Rossi now.
Over the start and finish line, 9 laps to go. The battle of the World Championship, the battle of the Yamahas. Pedrosa just dropped back. Look at Casey Stoner.
We just want Stoner to be involved as well, and Pedrosa if possible,
Yeah.
but just not. So it's not just the Yamahas. We know they're great bikes, but it'd be great if the Ducati or the Honda could be in there with them. Really put the cat amongst the pigeons. There's Elias going through on Andrea Dovizioso. Dovizioso forced to pick the bike up, but nothing wrong with that pass from Tony Elias. He hangs off the side of his San Carlo Honda Grassini. Dovizioso will soon be taken by Nicky Hayden.
Elias is after Marco Melandri, isn't he?
Either a Duff tyre choice or a Duff tyre for Andrea Dovizioso.
Without a doubt, Tony Elias now after Marco Melandri. Don't you take my job next year. I'm going to beat you. We'll wait and see. There is Nicky Hayden. Surely he's going to go past Andrea Dovizioso as well. Dovizioso is having major problems. Nicky Hayden got hung out to dry at that first corner after that second row start.
He was back almost in 15th, 16th position, wasn't he? Down the hill, the Ducati strong here. We've seen it with Casey Stoner. He closes right up on the rear of Andrea Dovizioso. The inside line for Nicky Hayden, no way through this time.
One would imagine he'd probably take him at turn 1, won't he?
Oh, I don't know, he might go through here.
No, he's going to have a go here. That's not
quite
the easiest place to overtake.
Stoner's not been dropped. In fact, he's closed in on this lap.
Brilliant.
Half a second. There's a bit of gravel there. There's a bit of dust in the air. Someone had crushed. In fact, the fastest lap of the race so far has just been set by Casey Stoner. 1:22.272. There's life in the dog yet. Here comes Hayden.
Nicky Hayden up the inside of Andrea Dovizioso as they come into turn 14. Classic overtaking manoeuvre from the world champion. Absolutely brilliant, Nicky Hayden, to see you riding back like this. Cross the line, 7 laps to go. Nicky Hayden moves into 8th place.
Well, Stoner's had a moment at the end of the front straight, I think, because it's suddenly gone out to a second, the gap between himself and Lorenzo. I think Stoner must have pushed it long. He's just set the fast lap of the race, but I've got a feeling that in turn 1 he's pushed it far too deep, because he's just lost half a second. And look at the gap now. It shouldn't be that after that lap he just set. He brought the gap down to under half a second.
They're glued together, the two Yamaha riders. Let's ride with Jorge Lorenzo to start with. That flick right coming any moment now. Plunge down the hill, as I say, about 275, 280 kilometres an hour. And then they brake for the bend at the bottom, turn 13.
You know what I reckon's going through Jorge Lorenzo's mind?
What?
Catalunya.
Oh,
last lap.
Wants to do it on the last bend.
Last corner. Well, I'm not sure it could be the last bend here just quite, but it could be the penultimate bend. Do you think he's thinking that? Doesn't want to show his hand because he's there and he looked quick enough.
I never know with Jorge Lorenzo. Rossi just pulls out a little bit of an advantage on the front straight. 7 laps to go as they go into turn 1.
Stoner's pulled back some time just down the straight one more time. He still thinks he's got a chance in this one. So does Danny Pedrosa. There's 9/10 of a second now between Lorenzo and Stoner. And this is the change of direction for Valentino Rossi coming out of the Omega.
Look at that.
That was on the lap previously when Stoner was there.
Followed suit by Lorenzo. Just about, you just see Casey Stoner, that front wheel coming off the ground. And I think it's Danny Pedrosa at the back, isn't it? Yeah. What a brilliant shot.
Brilliant.
He's doing a Valentino Rossi to Valentino Rossi. He's trying to rough him up from behind, isn't he? Just to try and make him make a mistake. I don't know if that'll work with Valentino Rossi, but we've seen Rossi do this so many times in a race. Lorenzo said, anything you can do, I can do better. Now he's so close this time as we ride with him. Will he try and get up the inside now? He's going to have a go.
He is going to have a go. Oh, Rossi closes right across the front of him. Now out of turn 13, on board with Jorge Lorenzo. Casey Stoner's not out of it. He pulls back another 10th on this lap. If these two start fighting at the front, it's going to help Stoner behind.
Over the start finish line, 6 laps to go. What a fabulous race here at the Sachsenring into turn 1. Lorenzo late on the brakes here. I don't think he'll be able to get up this side of Rossi, but he pulls right in behind him. Does he run it a bit wide? No, he runs it wide and then tips it in, doesn't he?
Yeah, he'll get the drive out of the corner to get close, but all of it's about getting into that turn 2 just right. Then they flick it right. This is the Omega. Look how long this right-hander is. It's almost like a double apex corner for them. Now, Stoner's got pressure on his back from Danny Pedrosa.
Top of the Omega. It's the left-hander, and then they start this plunge downhill. Turn 8, the difficult left-hander. Rossi said he had problems here last year every single lap. Very, very difficult corner. And that short straight, then they start to climb the hill through turn 9.
I wonder if Lorenzo will go for some absolute maverick place to overtake. I wonder if he'll try and spring a surprise as Rossi did to him at Barcelona.
It's very, very close again. They're going to plunge downhill any moment now. Here we go. Hold your tummies down through the right-hander.
Not
Sixth
this time.
gear. Don't think he's close enough for this time.
Stoner just closed the gap to 0.7 now. Pushes it very hard into turn 13 too. Look at that. 1:22.5 from Stoner. Pedrosa was quicker than him, and they were both quicker than Rossi and Lorenzo. This is shaping up to be a brilliant last 5 laps now. 30-lap race, 5 of them still to go.
This is Stoner in 3rd place, Danny Pedrosa in 4th.
Fastest
Lorenzo's
lap.
very close again. Just see if he's going to take Rossi. Here he comes. Side by side, there's nowhere for Rossi to go. Jorge Lorenzo takes the lead.
Pedrosa goes through on Stoner as well after setting the fastest lap of the race, so Pedrosa's coming into it now as well. We thought he was out mid-race. Lorenzo now leads. Pedrosa is up into 3rd, and if Stoner can stick with Pedrosa, we've got 4 riders in with a shout of victory with 4.5 laps to go.
They both made their move at the same time, the Spaniards into turn 1. Lorenzo to take the lead, Pedrosa to move into 3rd place. Now what's Lorenzo got up his sleeve? Can he get away from Valentino Rossi as they race in 4th gear through turn 8?
Down to the bottom of the hill, by the big wheel they go, and they start to climb up once more. Ian.
Yeah, Andrea Dovizioso, he's given up on that tyre, put him into the pits, and that's the end of it, the Italian's race.
Yeah, he was dropping like a stone, wasn't it? This was the move from Lorenzo and Pedrosa at the top of the picture. Watch that as well. Look how close Pedrosa went to Stoner. Just gave him no chance to bring the bike back across, and Dovizioso's had a real problem today. Front tyre. We saw it, didn't we, from one of the onboard shots? It was already
early on
really ragged. Toseland up into 10th, then Capirossi 11th, Kallio 12th, and Stoner sat up. Stoner's had a problem in turn 13, and Stoner's been forced to sit up. I think he was just pushing it a little bit too hard on the brakes. And Stoner looks out of the fight here now. He'll be disappointed with that one because he's stuck with it for the entire race. He hasn't got a problem, has he?
I think he's got a problem. I think the problem was he probably was just going a little bit too hard. Hope it's not a reoccurrence of the problem. That's really dogged him for the last 3 races.
I'm not sure it is actually, because it suddenly just dropped 2 seconds on that single lap. Here it is. It was very, very wide, wasn't it, in turn 13?
Yeah.
He was definitely looking down at the back of the bike because he came down there to start-finish straight.
Perhaps it's a rear tyre problem.
I wonder
Who
if
knows?
his tyre's gone. He did go with a hard rear tyre, same as Valentino Rossi has, whereas Jorge Lorenzo has an extra hard rear tyre, as does Danny Pedrosa. I wonder if this sun in the middle of the race heating up the track as well might have helped the likes of Lorenzo and Pedrosa. This is Tony Elias having an attack on Marco Melandri. Elias goes through and into 6th position. He's had a good race here, Tony Elias.
Yeah, 6th in Laguna, 6th again. Rossi closes up on Lorenzo. It's those two once again. They plunge down the hill, 3.5 laps to go. Surely Rossi's not going to try it there. You know, he thought about it. Lorenzo just about hangs in. It's getting tense inside that Yamaha garage. There's Danny Pedrosa still in 3rd place, up to turn 14, into the start and finish straight. 2 laps to go. What a fabulous German Grand Prix. And it's the usual 2 at the front. Sorry, 3 laps to go. The usual 2 at the front. Lorenzo leads. Rossi 2nd. Pedrosa working the wheels of that Honda to try and get with the 2 Yamahas. I think Casey Stoner's probably going to have to settle now for 4th place.
Yeah, he's 3 seconds back. No chance of De Angelis catching him. He dropped to 2nd again on that last lap. Obviously his tyres just had enough, and he tried to pull it back, didn't he? But look at Lorenzo trying to pull away from Rossi in turn. 1/4 of a second the gap between the pair of them. Further down the order, De Angelis, Elias, Melandri, Hayden in 8th, Edwards 9th, Toseland in 10th, Capirossi 11th, Kallio 12th, Canepa 13th, Vermeulen 14th, nursing those injuries, and Talmasci in 15th and last, with Dovizioso having retired, and I think he's probably gone back out on track, and or maybe he's actually just parked it in the pits actually.
We ride with Valentino Rossi, that's Jorge Lorenzo in front of him. Plunge downhill once again, 2.5 laps left of this tight, demanding Sachsenring circuit down at turn 13. This is going to take a superhuman effort, I think, by Valentino Rossi if he's going to beat Jorge Lorenzo.
Like it did in Barcelona.
Dead right, like it did in qualifying yesterday. He closes up once again. 2 laps to go when they cross the line.
Everyone around here, sweaty palms, they're biting their fingernails, they're chewing their lips, they've got their fingers crossed.
Here comes Rossi up the inside into turn one.
He's going to fire it up on the inside of Lorenzo at turn one. And he does, he takes the lead and makes it stick. Rossi now leads from Lorenzo. Lorenzo has to do the work yet again. Fastest lap of the race for Valentino Rossi. Oh, his personal fastest lap of the race, should I say.
This isn't over. 1 3/4 laps ago. Down at the bottom of the Omega curve. Look at this. Late on the brakes or what for Valentino Rossi. Rossi leads once again.
This is a statement of intent yet again from Rossi. But Jorge Lorenzo is wanting to be number one. He wants to be top dog. And at the moment, it's Rossi, the legend, who's beating him to it. But can he do anything? 1.5 laps remaining through turn 9 and climbing up the hill once more. Rossi's got the hammer down. He's trying to pull away. It's that classic Rossi of, right, last couple of laps, I'm going to throw it all at a chance of winning the race by setting some incredibly fast laps. And it looks to me this could be a best lap of the race so far from Rossi, because he's flying around this circuit now.
Down at turn 13, Rossi loves it when the bike goes loose. The fuel's gone from the tank. The tyres are slipping and sliding everywhere. That's how he loves to ride a motorcycle. Into turn 14. They are about to start their last lap. What has Lorenzo got left in the tank? Will he try it now at turn 1?
Pushes hard down the straight. Here comes Jorge Lorenzo up on the inside. He's going to try it. Rossi goes for the inside and around the outside. Jorge Lorenzo, can he bring the bike back around? Maybe he's gone a little bit too far, but he can bring it back around and he's back in line. It's going to have to be at turn 13 or somewhere else. A little bit odd.
Barcelona deja vu. It's happening all over again. Rossi leads, 3/4 of the lap left here at the German Grand Prix at the Sachsenring. At the top of the Omega curve, Lorenzo closes once again as they plunge down towards turn 9.
Jorge Lorenzo's just got that little bit harder rear tyre, but I'm not sure at this stage in the race if that will matter too much now. He closes the gain on Valentino Rossi as they climb up the hill. He needs to be as close as possible when they go through these 3 left-handers. And when they flick it right, he needs to be right on the tail of Rossi and carry as much speed. But Rossi really is pushing very hard indeed. Here they come down the hill for the last time.
270 kilometres an hour, 280 kilometres an hour. Rossi defends the corner up the inside of turn 13. 1 bend to go. Lorenzo has 1 chance. Can he reverse the decision of Barcelona as they go into turn 14?
Oh, it looks impossible there. Rossi closed the line so much on those last couple of corners. Here comes Lorenzo though, and he was trying so hard. Both set their fastest laps of the race on that last one. Incredible stuff. 99 thousandths between number 46 and number 99. Stoner has to settle for 4th place. Pedrosa for 3rd. But we've had another epic here at Sachsenring.
Alex D'Ange's won another good ride by him into 5th place on that San Carlo Grassini Honda. There he is, crosses the line. Brilliant stuff. They are just so exciting to watch. Tony Elias, another 6th place. Marco Melandri 7th. Nicky Hayden 8th despite his problems. Colin Edwards in 9th spot.
James Toseland looks like he will come home in 10th. And then it's Capirossi, Canepa, Vermeulen, Kallio and Talmasci. I think Kallio is probably having some finger problems. But Valentino Rossi takes victory number 101. 14 points the lead over Lorenzo, 28 the lead over Stoner, 68 the lead over Pedrosa. What another breathtaking MotoGP race. They both set their fastest laps on that last lap. Rossi a 1:22.231 and he closed it so tight, didn't he, going in to turn 13 that Lorenzo, whatever he did, even though he had the drive coming out of the corner, just could not do anything about it.
They could. Full marks to Jorge Lorenzo. He was an important part of that race, as was Valentino Rossi. Here is Rossi. I don't know if there's going to be any fun and games now. I think that's the supporters club there, isn't it?
That's his manager there.
Yeah.
Albi.
Here is Jorge Lorenzo. He'll say he's pleased to pick up the points. He'll say very pleased to finish 2nd. But here deep down he'll be really disappointed that Valentino Rossi's pulled one over him again on the last lap of the race. Not quite as dramatic as Barcelona, but I'd say almost as exciting, wouldn't it?
That was the last lap again. He shut the door. Lorenzo tried one of his classic round the outside manoeuvres.
That's what they used to call him, wasn't it? Round the outside.
Por fuera, that's what they call him in Spain.
Yeah.
But he had the drive coming out of that corner, but still had to stick it in behind Rossi. Nothing he could do after that. Look at the German fans. They're going crazy for him. Rossi just ducks out of the way of someone. A bit silly that, isn't it?
When I came into the circuit this morning with a load of people, 80% of the Germans, kids, grandfathers, grandmothers, mums and dads, had Rossi t-shirts. And I was coming in with Ian, I said, I wish I was doing his merchandise, because I tell you what, they are Rossi mad in this battle. Well done, Danny Pedrosa. Casey Stone will be interesting to see. I think he's more worried about the rear tyre, and some ways I'm pleased about that
just
rather
on the
than his
left-hand
help.
side. And I think for me, he looked okay, didn't he, towards the end of that race? Just one moment, and he looks happy for for the first time in about 4 races.
Oh, what a ride by Rossi. Well done, Danny Pedrosa, right back towards the front now. He rode a hard race to finish in 3rd place, didn't he? It's his dad, I think, isn't it? Just having a word with him.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Alberto
Pucci, of course, is there as well.
All sorts of talk about who's going to take the seat at Honda next year. Will it be Pedrosa? Will Lorenzo be there? Will they both be there?
You've got to say, Andrea Dovizioso is having a really tough time at the moment. 2 crashes and then retiring today.
When he had those 2 DNFs in a row for Dovizioso, the first time since he joined Grand Prix Racing, and now 3 in a row, unheard of for him.
Yeah, look at that. I don't think you need to commentate. That is MotoGP. That is the 2 best riders in the world.
Valentino Rossi, number 46. Jorge Lorenzo just behind him, with that Paul Ferreira symbol on his helmet, number 99. That's coming out of the Omega corner. You could see how hard they're both riding. Great to see Lorenzo's eyes as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
No way through. That's basically the story for Jorge Lorenzo today. There was no way through whatsoever. And the fan club are there. Don't know if there's any kind of celebration for him today. But he emerges unscathed.
I'm just down here with Nicky Hayden. Nicky, I guess disappointment after being blocked out at turn 1 at the start.
Yeah, certainly. I knew I needed to get a good start and try to do something, and I got in hot, and just everybody came up the inside, and it was a first turn deal, and I lost a lot of positions and a lot of time, and it wasn't the race I wanted, but the weekend itself in ways have been positive. After another crash this morning, I was a little bit tight in the race. I mean, I didn't want to just go destroy another bike and just throw away everything we've gained and learned this weekend, and I'm sorry for the team because the bike was capable of more today, and I just made a couple mistakes this weekend because I knew I could do good, and I don't want to apologize for trying too hard, but I'm sorry for a few little mistakes, and nonetheless, we're on our way. I really believe that we got some good results coming our way soon, so all in all, we're positive.
Thanks for that, Nicky, and good luck for next weekend in Donington.
Great stuff there from Nicky Hayden. Only up to a couple of mistakes, and it wasn't ideal. I think that first corner put paid to his race more than anything.
Didn't it? Because he made a decent start, didn't he? He just got in too hot.
And then he came back. I mean, by a couple of seconds, it could have been 6th. It could have been 5th even. So Valentino Rossi takes yet another victory.
Interesting to see the reaction of Jorge Lorenzo. Another great ride by him. Tony Elias fighting for his future. He's fighting in the best possible way. 6th place for Tony Elias, his 2nd successive 6th place, and starting from the very last row of the grid.
Last position on the grid, wasn't it? 17.
And a big crash yesterday, which wouldn't have done his confidence any good.
He says he's got a bit of stomachache now after that race. I'm not surprised. Look at that. Very hard in that final corner on Marco Melandri. Almost running him wide onto the grass into the final corner. That's hard. Yeah. Former 250cc rivals.
Don't pinch my job, I think Tony Elias is saying, because that's the rumour that Marco Melandri's going to take it from him. Look at that. Whoa. He's not letting him through.
Remember him winning a race against Marco Melandri at Motegi? Do you remember that?
I do,
2003, was it? Incredible. Valentino Rossi then now has a 14-point lead over Lorenzo, who looks quite disappointed, doesn't he, with 2nd place, but I don't know.
He will be, I'm sure.
Of course, he'll be disappointed, but
yeah, but he can ride with him, can't he? No, that's confirmation. 99 thousandths of 1 second, is that correct?
Yeah. Well, just basically a 10th, more than easier.
Yeah.
But I think with Jorge Lorenzo on 99, just poignant.
Yeah, very poignant.
Danny Pedrosa in third position, Casey Stoner in fourth. And, good ride by Alex De Angelis actually in fifth. Elias in sixth, Melandri seventh. Further down the order, Hayden was eighth, Edwards ninth, Tozen 10th, Lecapio Rossi 11th, Canepa. Callio obviously suffered with that finger injury. Rossi Lorenzo Stoner, as it was in the championship, just spreads out a little bit more at the moment, but still it's tight. Still not done and dusted. Still another 8 rounds to come.
Dead right, but 14-point lead for Valentino Rossi. And Jorge Lorenzo, that's his 7 consecutive podium finish, but we want to see him winning some races soon, as Rossi may get away at the front.
Yeah,
but,
Lorenzo
we
hasn't
see
won
more races like that.
Lorenzo hasn't won since Le Mans.
Golly.
But that's his sixth successive podium in a row.
Sixth successive podium in a row.
Hasn't won since Le Mans, but he's had 4 second places since then now.
Yeah, pretty consistent. If he wasn't racing against Valentino Rossi, that would put him certainly in the lead in the World Championship, wouldn't it? But he's racing against arguably the greatest motorcycle racer the world has ever seen, who seems to be more hungry for success than he ever has been. And the more this goes on, the more I can see him carrying on after the end of next year, because nothing he likes more than being involved in races like this and winning.
Well, he keeps telling us, doesn't he? If I could choose now, I'd keep riding after next year. We hope that's the case.
This lot don't.
Well, there's all sorts of rumours going on at Yamaha, of course, about Lorenzo, about what he'll do. Yamaha have a tough decision to make. Very tough decision.
Well, they do, because obviously Lorenzo's probably the future, and if they don't know if Rossi's going to carry on after the end of next year, really that's what they need to know, isn't it? Rossi would stay number 1.
But it's not only that. There's money, there's who's the number 1 rider, that kind of thing. Lorenzo's wanting a bit more. He's come out publicly and said, Yamaha aren't offering me enough. Yamaha have said he's not going to get any more, publicly. Yamaha have even said, with their first hour, said, I only need Valentino to develop this bike. Came out wrong, I think, in the press.
I think it came out wrong.
I think he actually, what he meant was, I use Valentino to develop the bike and Jorge races it as well, but I've got to go in one direction. If they had 2 riders, it wouldn't make sense, would it?
No. I mean, rumours are that if Lorenzo goes, that Colin Edwards will step back up into the Fiat Yamaha team, which is suits Valentino Rossi absolutely perfectly. They're good friends. Colin Edwards, brilliant development rider, will help him, but no disrespect to Colin, but he's not going to be a threat to a world title with Valentino Rossi, is he? When your own teammate is, it's pretty hard. 3:99.46. What a race. What another great weekend we've had. We're at Donington Park next weekend, so we can have some of the sunshine we've had here. MotoGP once again at its very, very best. Enjoy it. So back in Park Ferme. Sunshine, Danny Pedrosa, he's right back in the hunt, isn't he? Danny Pedrosa won in Assen, third here, forgotten all those problems he had earlier in the season. He'll win some more Grand Prix before the end of the season, that I can promise you.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. He looked good today in the second half of the race, and you never know, a couple more laps he could have been there. Took the different, it was just different choice of tyres, had the same as Lorenzo, didn't he? In terms of tyres he was using, had that hard front and an extra hard rear tyre. That's what the white stripe on the front tyre meant. Opposite combination to Casey Stoner, who did suffer in the end with his tyres a little bit, although it's just that Ducati does use the tyre a lot more.
It certainly does.
Anyway, it was an interesting race, all in all. Thoroughly enjoyed it. We've had some nice weather for it. Just a little bit of rain coming before the event got underway. I was on the 250s, of course.
Riders just walked past us. We wanted to tell Jerry Burgess that Valentino Rossi.
He did just go past us,
He did. And so we wanted to write down the cricket score. May I assure you, we're going to write it down and hand it to him when he comes back
as soon
past
as he comes back,
yeah.
that's 79 for 3. He's going to be right in his face.
I was trying to stop him.
Nick Harris, if in case you're wondering why, has a big bet on with, not these gambling man, big bet on with Jeremy Burgess about who will win each of the Ashes contests.
I have lost a fortune
those of you
over
don't know,
the last 20 years.
That's between England and Australia in cricket.
Yeah, I have lost a fortune over the last 20 years to Jerry. So we will wait and see, but pity we couldn't collar him as he walked past there. What a race.
Daniele Romagnoli, you can see a little bit disappointment there for the team, but you know, there's Hamane from HRC. It's another good race. Great fun for everybody.
Good job, Danny.
It's a tough season for MotoGP for all sorts of reasons. We say this every week. But what is happening, the riders are just going out there and putting on a show as good as we've ever seen.
They've laid it on the line again today.
They have. You can't ask for any more. You can say what you like about money, teams dropping out, grids and everything else. This is still absolutely superb sport.
It's been amazing. How anyone could be criticising it after some of the races we've had recently. I remember Laguna Seca, remember Aston,
Barcelona today.
Even Mugello was a spectacular race with the changes. France as well with the tyre change as well in the race. The last few races have been unbelievable. Maybe Aston was the least classic of those.
So this is Valentino Rossi, what, 4th win of the season?
It is, yeah. He's only been off the podium once, and that was when he got a little bit edgy at Le Mans.
Yeah, he did.
Down in the damp conditions.
Yeah.
Danny Pedrosa takes 3rd position, back on the podium, 2nd race in a row now. That's his 4th podium of the season, and 2nd, 3rd place.
Yeah, right back in there. Jorge Lorenzo, another 2nd place for Jorge Lorenzo. He's had a great season, but he so would have liked to beat Valentino Rossi here with all the speculation surrounding his future. But he's still in with a great championship chance.
He's not happy. Really not happy, is it?
No.
Half-baked wave, and we forget he had a partially separated shoulder, didn't he? He's got a bit of a broken bone in his foot, Lorenzo, only a couple of weeks ago. So it's Herculean effort once more from Lorenzo.
But fireworks all around, he's done it again. His 4th, 5th victory here at the Sachsenring. He leads the World Championship, his 4th win of the season. Can anybody beat Valentino Rossi? Jeremy Burgess, there we go. That's where he was on his way to when we saw him. What a great job he has done through the years with Wayne Gardner, Mick Doohan, Valentino Rossi.
He crewed for Freddie Spencer, didn't he?
Yes, he did, those early days.
Italian national anthem.
So Grand Prix victory number 4 for the season for Valentino Rossi. Grand Prix victory number 101 for an incredible career.
Let's hope it goes on as long as possible.
Yeah.
Because if we keep getting races like that, then spectacular stuff.
And Jorge Lorenzo is going to beat him at some stage, isn't he?
Well, he has done earlier on this season in Motegi, remember. Podium girls enjoying a bit of a shower. Valentino Rossi, a big beaming smile.
I suppose he's learned how to do that champagne, hasn't he? He's been up there so many times.
1 or 2 times in the past.
Good old. He's cheering up now, Jorge. He's decided he can't beat Rossi. He's going to try and cover him so much in
Try and
champagne.
blind him.
Well done, Jorge Lorenzo. And he actually tapped him on the back there as well. Yeah.
I don't think there's too much bad feeling.
No, I don't
between
think
them
there is at all.
I think there's
There's
complete
bitter
respect
rivalry.
as well.
Bitter rivalry, but yeah, enormous respect between the two of them. As we know and we've seen in the past, Valentino Rossi will play any game on off the track to gain an advantage.
Yeah, he's been very pally with Danny Pedrosa recently. For some reason, he's just pushed Danny off the top step of the podium.
He's small enough already, isn't he, poor little Danny?